Hello, everyone. Week number 5 has started. This is the introduction and a recap for week number 5. So let me share the screen with you. So far, we have, starting from week number 1, we covered so many functions from the constant function to absolute value function, exponential logarithm, trig functions, all the way to week number 4. We have, we have reviewed quite fast, and we did our midterm exam. And also, as you can see, okay, let me share another screen with you. I wish to show you that all of these functions we have started with, they are all falling into this definition of function. And we're still thinking a function is a rule that assign each input exactly one output, one-to-one function, increasing, decreasing, even odd functions. And we're most concerned about their graph and their domain and range, which we've been discussing all along. And these functions, okay, are very, very important functions, and you get to use them all in calculus class. In fact, you get to use all of them in your future calculus classes and more. So the reason we covered all of these functions from the beginning all the way to the middle part of the semester, and especially those harder questions, harder functions such as exponential logarithm trig functions, these are more difficult functions to to understand and study. What I hope is that as we proceed to the following week, which is week number 5, you will continue to study those other functions as needed, because you're going to encounter them again. So here I'm sharing these 2 screens with you, and week number 4, and I'm going to make the solution available to you. So let's look at week number 5. In week number 5, we're still focusing on those functions, but those functions sometimes they take a slightly more complex to form. For example, if you look at the homework of week number 5, I'm going to open it. Okay. You see equations, and you see you see a lot of different kind of functions we have studied earlier, right? And you see more complex to form of quadratic function. We spend a lot of time in this week studying quadratic function, because quadratic function is one of the most most used function academically, not only because it is something we know everything about, it is also most tweaked functions. Okay, so you're going to see those tweaks in the latter part of the homework for this week. And these questions, right? G of x, these are actually very typical of functions you are going to see in the process of studying calculus classes, especially calculus 1 in the latter chapters. And so this week we have quite a lot of content to cover, but you can see we get to study functions we've studied in the first 4 weeks, and they're studied again in a different light. So we're going to study their properties. So here you will find, okay, you will find in week number 5, basic function overview, domain functions, right? So we knew all the functions we're gonna use, but they're being tweaked, shifted, composited. And how do we find their domain and range? And introduction to function, perspective, if statement, and so on and so forth. This lesson is longer, it's like 2 hours, so you may like to break it down as you watch it. And these are more, these are still focusing on those other functions we studied before, but in a different context. And we get to be to study their properties, right? Change base formula, logarithm properties, and so on and so forth. An exponential equation, logarithm equation, and absolute value equations, inequalities, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, you can see quadratic functions are extensively studied. Okay. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And but you will see we're still studying functions, right? Sometimes is from input, we try to find output. Sometimes we try to find domain, and sometimes from output, we try to find input. So we're still around these, it's just different rules for different rules. So I wish you guys to see that perspective, okay? So they are all about functions. It's just a different perspective of functions for different rules. Also, as we are continuing to study the different aspects of functions, if you have any issues with, you know, former weeks, right, trig functions and so on and so forth, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, because the reason I cover trig function so much earlier and spend so much time on trig functions is so that you have more time to study them whenever possible. And those functions are typically, I mean, the exponential logarithm functions and the trig functions are typically the more difficult functions. And you can see that in absolute value function in this week number 5, right? You see absolute value function show up one more time. Okay, wait. Let me scroll down to week number 5. Here we go, sorry. Right here, I just saw it, right here. You can see absolute value function show up again, and then we study quadratic. There's some interconnections between these two kinds of functions, including completing squares and all of these techniques and algebraic skills. Well, you have much to study, and I'm here, and I'm ready to answer any one of your questions and keep up with your great work. We just have 4 more weeks to go. Thank you for watching.